Hello, friends! A very warm welcome to all of you to our special program. Today, we are going to discuss in detail a piece of news that is directly connected to the lives of not just millions, but tens of millions of people. If you live in the United States, if someone in your family is retired, or if you are planning for your retirement in the future, then today's news is going to be extremely important for you. Friends, today we are going to talk about the Social Security Increase 2026. Over the past few months, there has been a lot of discussion about this topic on social media, news channels, and among economic experts. Many people want to know how much Social Security payments will change in 2026, who will benefit from it, and whether this increase will actually provide real financial relief to people. But before we understand this entire news story, it is important to first understand what Social Security actually is and why it is so important. Friends, in the United States, Social Security is a government system that provides financial security to millions of people. This entire system is operated by the Social Security Administration. When a person works for many years and pays a portion of their income into this system through taxes, the government provides them with a monthly payment after retirement. This payment works like a pension for that person. Today, more than 70 million people in the United States receive Social Security benefits. These include retired workers, people with disabilities, widows, and even family members who qualify for benefits. For many people, Social Security is not just an additional income, it is actually their primary source of financial support. Several surveys show that millions of seniors in the United States depend heavily on Social Security for their daily living expenses. If these payments were suddenly stopped, it would become extremely difficult for them to manage their everyday costs. That is why whenever any news related to Social Security appears, millions of people pay very close attention to it. And this is exactly why today's news becomes very important. Now the big question is, what exactly has changed in Social Security payments for 2026? Friends, the government has announced an increase in Social Security payments for 2026 under something called the Cost of Living Adjustment, commonly known as COLA. COLA simply means adjusting payments according to inflation. When inflation increases and everyday items become more expensive, the government raises Social Security payments so that beneficiaries can maintain their purchasing power. For 2026, Social Security payments have been increased by approximately 2.8%. At first glance, this number may seem small, but when we look at the impact it has on the lives of millions of people, it becomes quite significant. This increase will benefit millions of retired individuals and senior citizens across the United States. However, another important question arises here. Is this increase actually enough? Will it truly help people cope with rising inflation? This is the exact question that is currently being debated across the United States. Some economic experts believe that this increase was necessary and that it will provide relief to millions of people. But others argue that this increase is still not enough to keep up with living costs. So what is the real truth? To understand the answer to that question, we need to look deeper into the full story. In the next part, we will find out how this 2.8% increase will actually affect people's pockets and how much extra money an average person may receive every month.
Now, the biggest question is, what will be the real impact of this increase on people's pockets? Because whenever the government announces an increase in any benefit program, the first question people usually ask is how much additional money they will actually receive every month. So let's understand this in very simple terms. According to reports, by 2025, the average retired person in the United States was receiving about $2,015 per month in Social Security benefits. But after the cost of living adjustment, also known as the Social Security Administration's COLA increase for 2026, that amount has risen to approximately $2,071 per month. This means that on average, a person is now receiving about $56 more per month. If we calculate this over an entire year, that additional amount comes to around $672 annually. For some people, the increase may be slightly higher, while for others, it may be lower. That's because Social Security payments depend on several factors, including a person's work history, their lifetime earnings, and how many years they paid Social Security taxes. However, on average, most beneficiaries are seeing a small monthly increase in their payments in 2026. There is another interesting point that many people find surprising. Social Security benefits are not the same for everyone. Some retirees receive around $1,500 per month, while others may receive $3,000 or even more. This brings us to the next important question. Who receives the highest Social Security benefits? Generally speaking, people who worked for many years with consistently high earnings tend to receive the largest payments. If someone has worked for about 35 years, paid Social Security taxes consistently, and retires at their full retirement age, they may qualify for the highest possible benefit. In 2026, the maximum Social Security benefit can reach around $4,100 to $4,200 per month. However, this amount is only available to individuals who had very high earnings throughout their careers and contributed significantly to the system for decades. Most retirees receive benefits closer to the national average. Now, another important question arises. If Social Security payments have increased, does that mean all retirees will feel financially better off? The answer is a bit complicated. Even though Social Security benefits have increased, inflation has also been rising at the same time. Because of this, many economic experts say that the increase in benefits may still fall short when compared to the rising cost of living. For example, if essential expenses such as food, medication, rent, and electricity become more expensive, the additional Social Security income may not feel like much of an improvement. In simple terms, the extra money often ends up being spent on higher living costs. But the story doesn't end here. In 2026, another expense has increased that has caused concern among millions of seniors. That expense is Medicare premiums. Medicare is a government health insurance program in the United States that primarily covers people aged 65 and older. Many retirees depend on Medicare to pay for their healthcare services. However, Medicare premiums have been rising in recent years. When these premiums increase, a portion of the additional Social Security benefit often goes directly toward paying those higher healthcare costs. That is why many seniors say they do not fully feel the benefit of the Social Security increase. Even so, the increase is still considered important because it provides at least some financial relief to millions of Americans. Now, there's another important change that took place in 2026. The government has also increased the Social Security taxable income limit. Previously, Social Security taxes only applied up to a certain level of income, but in 2026, that limit has increased to approximately $184,500. This means that individuals with higher earnings will now pay Social Security taxes on a larger portion of their income than before. The government believes that this step will help strengthen the Social Security Trust Fund for the future. However, this issue is still widely debated in the United States. Some people believe it is a necessary step to protect the system, while others argue that it places an additional burden on high-income earners. But despite all these developments, one major question still remains. Will Social Security remain secure in the future? Will millions of Americans continue to receive these benefits in the years ahead? Or could major changes be coming to the system? This is exactly the question that economists and policy experts around the world are discussing today. And in the next part, we will explore this topic in more detail. We will look at what the future of Social Security might be, why some experts are concerned about the program, and whether significant changes could happen in the coming years.
But now the most important part of this entire discussion begins. Because today, millions of people in the United States are asking one very big question, and that question is the future of Social Security secure? Will people continue to receive Social Security payments every month in the coming years, just like they do today? Or could there be major changes to the system in the future? Friends, this question is very important because Social Security is the largest social safety program in the United States, and the lives of millions of people depend on it. The entire system is managed by the Social Security Administration, and this institution sends monthly payments to tens of millions of Americans. However, in the past few years, many economic experts have expressed concerns about the long-term sustainability of the system. They say that financial pressure on Social Security could increase in the coming years. So the question is, why are experts saying this? There are several reasons behind it. The first reason is the growing elderly population. In the United States today, people are living longer than before. This means more people are receiving Social Security benefits for a longer period of time. The second reason is declining birth rates. When birth rates fall, the future working population becomes smaller, and the Social Security system is based on a simple principle. People who are currently working pay taxes, and those taxes are used to pay benefits to retirees. If the number of workers decreases while the number of retirees increases, the system can come under financial pressure. The third reason is economic imbalance. Some reports suggest that if major reforms are not made in the future, the Social Security trust funds could face increasing strain. However, this does not mean that Social Security will suddenly disappear, but it does mean that the government may need to make important adjustments in the future. So the next question is, what kind of steps could the government take? According to economic experts, several possible changes could happen in the future. The first potential change could be an increase in retirement age. Right now, the full retirement age in the United States is around 67 years for many workers, but some experts believe that this age could be gradually increased in the future. The second possible step could involve changes to Social Security taxes. The government may consider requiring higher income earners to contribute more to the system. The third option could be new financial measures to strengthen the Social Security trust funds. At the moment, all of these ideas are still under discussion, and no final decisions have been made. But one thing is very clear. Social Security is a crucial part of the American economy, and maintaining it remains a top priority for the government. Now, there is another important point that many people often misunderstand. Many believe that Social Security is only for retired individuals, but in reality, the program provides several different types of benefits. For example, if someone becomes seriously injured while working and unable to continue working, they may qualify for Social Security disability benefits. Similarly, if a worker passes away, family members may receive survivor benefits from Social Security. So, in reality, Social Security is not just a retirement program. It is a comprehensive social protection system, and that is exactly why discussions about Social Security are taken so seriously in the United States. Now, if we return to the 2026 increase, it is clear that the government is trying to reduce the impact of inflation. Although some people believe the increase is not enough, it still remains an important source of financial support for millions of Americans. The big question now is, how much could Social Security increase in the coming years? Will payments rise again in 2027? Could there be even bigger changes in the future? Friends, this is the topic that millions of Americans are closely watching right now.
Friends, in the previous parts of this video, we discussed in detail how much Social Security increased in 2026, how much extra money people are receiving on average, and what discussions are currently happening about the future of this system. Now, in this final part, we will try to understand which direction Social Security may take in the coming years and whether beneficiaries might receive more relief in the future. First of all, it is important to understand that Social Security payments are adjusted every year based on inflation. This process is called the Cost of Living Adjustment, commonly known as COLA. When inflation rises, the government increases Social Security payments so that retired individuals are not severely affected by the rising cost of living. That is why in 2026, a COLA increase of about 2.8% has been implemented. However, many experts say that the future increase in Social Security will largely depend on the inflation rate in the coming years. If inflation remains high, then larger increases in Social Security payments may be possible in the future. But if inflation stays low, the increases could remain limited. Now, there is another very important point to understand. Social Security is not just a financial program. It is one of the most important pillars of the social safety system in the United States. The entire system is managed by the Social Security Administration, which sends payments to millions of people every month. Every month, Social Security payments are deposited into millions of bank accounts, and for many families, this money is the main source of financial support. In the United States, there are millions of senior citizens whose largest portion of income comes from Social Security. Several surveys show that around 40% of elderly Americans rely primarily on Social Security as their main source of income. Without these payments, it could become very difficult for many of them to manage their daily living expenses. That is why Social Security is considered one of the most important programs in the United States. Now, if we look at the 2026 increase, it is clear that the government is trying to reduce the impact of inflation on retirees. However, some people also argue that the cost of living today is rising so quickly that Social Security increases do not always keep up with it. For example, expenses such as rent, electricity, medicines, and groceries are continuously becoming more expensive. In such a situation, it is not always easy for retired individuals to maintain financial stability. This is why many senior citizen organizations regularly demand higher Social Security payments. Despite all these challenges, it is also true that Social Security remains one of the largest and most stable Social Security programs in the world. Every year, millions of people benefit from it, and it provides financial security to countless families. Looking ahead to the future, economic experts believe that the Social Security system will continue to undergo reforms and adjustments over time. The government's goal is to ensure that this system remains strong for the long term and continues to benefit future generations. Therefore, it is possible that new financial measures may be introduced in the future to strengthen the Social Security Fund. But for now, the most important thing is that the 2026 increase has already been implemented, and millions of beneficiaries are receiving its benefits. On average, people are receiving about $56 more per month. Some individuals may receive more than this, while others may receive slightly less, depending on their benefit amount. Nevertheless, this increase has provided financial relief to millions of people. So friends, in today's video, we learned in detail what changes have been made to Social Security payments in 2026, how much extra money people are receiving, and what possibilities exist for the future of this system. If you or someone in your family receives Social Security benefits, this information could be very important for them. And if you like learning about important financial news and updates like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with your friends and family so that more people can benefit from this information. We will continue bringing you important updates and news like this in the future. Thank you.